Hello, everybody. Welcome to F1 Down Under. My name is Heidi.
And I'm Matt.
And this is our race reaction to the Canadian Grand Prix. Wow, what an exciting race it was.
Yeah, certainly was. A bit more than Monaco the other week.
The wet did create some exciting drama in terms of changeable conditions.
Yeah.
So the start, everyone onto the intermediates apart from the Hasses.
Yeah, it was a nice. I mean, everyone got away. It was a bit ginger, and there was only the one little bash between Perez.
Kiss.
Yeah, Perez and Gasly. But I was really surprised everyone did get away so cleanly.
Yes, I'm surprised there wasn't a safety car in the first lap. But everyone clean and safe. There was so much spray though. I'm surprised they could see.
Yeah, take some guts to drive around in the wet. But I thought Kevin and Nico on those wets were like so much quicker than everybody else.
And could take different lines, so much more confident on the brakes. It was amazing to see. They gained, I think, 7 or 8 places. I mean, Kevin was up to fourth or fifth by lap 4 on those wets, but unfortunately the track dried quite quickly when it stopped raining, so unfortunately it had to go to intermediates quite quickly, and then
they messed up his stop, didn't they, going in? That's the thing. I think Kevin would have been a lot higher up in the race had they got that pit stop. They called him in, but they weren't ready.
No,
so 8 seconds, was it?
8.6 second stop. So fortunately,
that kind of killed his race, really.
Yes, didn't get the stop right. But then after that, it was a pretty much intermediate race.
Yeah,
for a while.
Yeah, once that real heavy rain cleared, it was seeing how long they could keep on those intermediate tyres, and they started to speed up.
And you could see for a while that dry line going, oh, is it going to go on slicks? And then, oh, is it going to go on slicks? And then you hear the team radio going, we're predicting rain in 3 minutes.
Yeah, they were trying to hang out, weren't they, for that extra rain. But they got in, and some of them went back onto pitted, didn't they? And went onto extra set of inters.
Well, I think
was that Sargent going out, wasn't it? There was a safety car.
Yes, there was a safety car.
Yeah, for Sargent.
And
that caused everyone to go in, and a lot of them, although it wasn't raining at the time, they all went and put fresh inters on. Apart from, it was Ocon,
Bottas, and
Tsunoda stayed out, which is brave. I think they were trying to go, well, hopefully these inters, if it does rain again, will just have enough grip, which they probably did. They did well to do that.
Yeah, so that safety car was lap 27. So if they just held on, so they were brave doing that.
Yeah, it was.
And the rain didn't last long either, but they've got to wait for the track to clear.
Yes, that's right. And then it was a case of who was going to jump first
onto the slicks.
Yeah.
Now, when would have you gone onto the slicks?
Well, I think some of them. I mean, Gasly went lap 41. I think he was the first to really go, and for him, he was out the points, so there was no bother with that. I think if you were out the points, it was worth the gamble. I think probably a lap or two later than when Lewis, who was the sort of first of the front runners, went in, would have been mine. He lost. You could see he lost 4 or 5 seconds on his out lap, which is if it had been a lap later, he may have sort of not done that.
So Lewis pitted lap 44. onto the mediums. But I don't know whether that he was taking those, easing them in gently and finding the right line. We don't know, but he might have just been easing them in because that was the first like proper slick racing, I
Yeah,
think. So
and then everybody followed in, didn't they? Pretty
yeah,
much after that.
it was like chaos in the pit lane. I don't think I've ever seen the pit lane so busy apart from the safety car.
Yeah,
So it
but
was
that was the safety. Was it under the safety car?
no, it wasn't. It wasn't under the safety car.
Oh no, that's right. It was. It was the because of course, yeah.
It was
Perez. We ought
just
to talk about Perez, shouldn't we? Because that could have been a safety car. That's what I'm getting confused about. It was about the similar time he went on to slicks, didn't he? And then
yes, about 5 laps late, 10 laps later, Perez, when the track was still damp in the first half of the lap,
yeah,
he spun and could have caused a safety car.
yeah, and well, he's got a penalty, hasn't he?
Yes, he has got a penalty for Spain next week, 3 grid place penalty, which I think is fair.
Yeah, he was driving around with that rear wing hanging off. That could have been a real disaster if that had fallen off. So I know why Red Bull did it. Didn't want to cause a safety car because Max by this point had been was in the lead.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the other real incident was
Sainz taking out Alex Albon
yeah,
by spinning because the track was still damp in the first half compared to the second half of the track. It was bone dry on one half of the track, and then the other half of the track, there was literally basically a single lane of traffic.
yeah, and that took both of those out of the points and out of the race, which was a shame. I mean, there was a lot of retirements really.
There's 5.
So
So there was Charles for an engine issue, Logan because he hit the wall, Carlos and Alex. Alex from his own fault, and Carlos because he spun.
well, it's because it wasn't his own fault. He got
No,
clipped,
clipped.
yeah, by Sainz.
And then Sergio because he hit the wall and bashed into the back. So he might be more penalties next weekend because if he's got a suspension issue, probably.
Yeah, or might need a gearbox or something.
But we'll see. But it was very close up front.
Yeah, I mean, it was, George was leading out, wasn't he? He did,
That's the closest I've seen it up front.
but I think George will be a little bit disappointed
Yeah.
because I don't know what you think. I think, he made a couple of mistakes which gifted, Norris and Max the pass on him. And that kind of put him out of the lead, didn't it?
Yeah, could take lap 21 for example. Like he was the race leader, and then he was on it in the Inters by this point, and it was Inters at that point, and messed up a corner and gave Lando the race lead.
Yeah, and Max went into second. So, and then you got Lando leading at that point, and then I thought that was interesting because obviously they kind of with that first safety car, Lando went past the pits. I don't know whether the safety car was called by the time they had enough time to get into the pits.
I'm not sure whether the pit he had gone past it or whether we're not sure about that one, whether he had just passed it or.
But the others went in, didn't they?
By that point he had therefore lost the race.
Well, I think it's because he did actually catch the safety car, and that cost him like 10 or 15 seconds, which dropped him back behind Max and
Piastri.
Yeah. So that but he managed to get back to second. So,
which was well done for him. He did a great recovery drive from that perspective, but it was hard racing from every single driver, so close. And I think that's the great thing about racing. You literally see how close it is.
Yeah, it was tight all the way from qualifying where they got the same time right through to the race. I think the top 5
were under 5 seconds
at the end of the race, which is
really close. Never seen it that close. That's the closest I've seen it all season. So these new upgrades that they're bringing are
Yeah.
clearly doing something.
So, what was your big surprise? What do you think? What surprised you the most?
My biggest surprise was, well, how close it was
Yeah,
overall and how exciting it was. So many overtakes, how brave they were. And that was it, really. That was probably the overall race, I think. How there's
yeah.
so many overtakes. What about you?
Um, I was just the biggest surprise for me was just how poor Ferrari were. I think, I thought they were going to do well at this circuit, and they just had a shocking weekend.
Yeah,
Both cars not finishing is never good, but they were just weren't on the pace, which is why I think they were getting in the tangles and all those other things.
yes. I I think they are baffled by
Yeah,
what's happened, seeing how last weekend they were scoring and then this weekend, which I think they would have been expecting a track to suit them, nothing has worked.
yeah.
So, Lando Norris got your vote of the driver of the day, but who would your be driver of the day?
Well, it was a toss up for me. I think Kevin at the beginning showed some real pace and was really going for it on those wet tyres, making lots of overtakes. Disappointing because of the slow pit stop and the team not ready for him. So I think he could have done better than he did. And I know he's kind of often gets a bit of grief, but I thought he did really well. The toss up between him and the other person who didn't finish was Alex. I thought Alex was running really well. I'm a big Williams fan. I was really disappointed. I was so disappointed when Sainz took him out because it was no fault of his own. He was, he was having a really solid race and looked like he was going to get some points. So they would be my
Mine is actually Esteban Ocon. He started 18th and finished 10th. I mean, he was 8th at one point, but then I think team orders kind of came into play and the medium tyres wearing off. And
yeah. He did really well making those intermediates last along with Sonoda, didn't he? So yeah,
so,
I think he did do it. He did do a really good job. I think he'd be disappointed.
yes, I think he was disappointed. But apart from that, I think every driver in the grid did really well, those changeable conditions. And I think sometimes the strategy and the pit will have to do listen to the driver and say, yeah, it's ready for slicks. And this is one of those tracks that you do have to listen
Yeah,
to the driver. So it made it very exciting to watch and to observe.
yeah. And although Max won, I thought he didn't win by much, so
Mm.
it's looking good. I think as we go towards sort of Europe and a lot more races.
Yeah. So we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.